What is up, everybody? Chris, the Dice Degen here with quite a few special co-hosts this evening to break down the Super Bowl matchup that was last Sunday between Chiro's Kansas City Chiefs and myself and John's Eagles. So, Chiro, we'll go to you first. How are you today, boss?
I am doing fantastic. Hold on one second here.
Gonna change his back. All right, I muted his mic. I've heard enough of that.
That's great.
I didn't know Florida State was playing, Chiro.
Yeah,
Florida
right.
State playing.
And we have Ian, my co-host on the shows, and we have
Evening,
John.
everybody.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Awesome.
Alrighty,
Awesome.
so Super Bowl. For those of you who live under a rock and don't know what happened, the Chiefs won 38-35 this past Sunday. It was a legendary game. It was a great game. Honestly, probably one of the best Super Bowls I've watched in my lifetime, in my opinion. Anyway, I don't know if you guys are going to agree or disagree, but I liked it a lot. So Ian, what did you think of the game?
You bet, man. It was a great game. It was. I mean, back and forth. Everybody knew it was going to be a good game. Sure did score a lot more points than what was anticipated. The over-under that ended up to be 50.5 at kickoff time down in Vegas. To watch it go up in the 70s, I mean, it was clear. Yeah. That bet that you and I both went heavy on, we told everybody at 24.5, take that bet. It got up to 26.5 in Vegas. I bet it. I won it. That was one of my 4 bets that I won when I was down there. So, yeah, nice. When you look at that game, though, that was, it had some surprises in it. It had some good offensive series in it. It had some really question marks around, the whole Eagles defensive line. Where did it go? Or was it Kansas City's offensive line that really put him in check? Man, I don't know. And then you watched, Mahomes roll his ankle up. Everybody thought, at least in the bar we were at, they thought, oh, game over, man. Roll it up. He goes over. He's gritting it out. What a champion to be able to come out and, and say, okay, let's wrap it up. Let's shoot it up. I'm sure they shot it up with Toradol when he went into the locker room.
Shot him up with some other stuff. I don't know if you've seen some of the reports.
He felt none of that after things.
I don't know if you guys saw him today, but he wasn't feeling any pain either today.
No.
That boy was drunk today in the parade. It was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It was crazy. But I agree with you. I mean, as an Eagles fan, I would probably say that's one of the best games. As a Seahawks fan, it was, the game, against the Patriots. I mean, I would have to say that was a really, really good game just to watch some of those catches at the end of that game and thinking you're going to give the ball to Lynch and it's won, But it was a great game. First time anyone's been down 10 points and come back and won the Super Bowl. Outside of Atlanta, of course, Atlanta gacking it, but everybody knew that one, But to have it that close.
No, the Hawks were up by 10.
Well, the Hawks were up by 10?
Yeah. That's why I think that was a better Super Bowl. Yeah, I think that was,
you might be right.
To me, the worst outcome for me by far was that Hawks Super Bowl.
100%.
That one still gives me agita. But that, I think, was a better game. That was a tighter game the whole way through. That was a great just slugfest. And I like a slugfest better than a shootout. Mm-hmm. So to me, that one is easily the top 1 or 2 of all time. Even though the Hawks lost it. Yeah.
No, that was definitely a good game too.
The Tennessee one was good too. I mean, when the 1 yard. That was a great game. I mean,
there's been a lot of good ones recently. Yeah. And I think this one really stood out. So first of all, Chiro, I'm gonna be the first one to tell you congratulations to your Chiefs. All right. We're gonna get to some things in a little bit. I will tell you, my phone was absolutely flooded after the game. Mm-hmm. All right. From friends, from people in the YouTube community. My phone was absolutely flooded with texts of stuff, but my response was the same to everybody. All right. They all wanted to talk about that call. We'll get to it later. But your Chiefs kicked ass in the second half. All right. Yeah. They kicked ass. They took names and they didn't care. So you guys deserved it. Chiro, what are your thoughts on the game? And congrats again.
Thank you. Listen, there was probably nobody more concerned than me when I saw Mahomes roll his ankle again. I literally turned and looked at my wife. I had my hands on my head, and I'm like, oh shit. And the one saving grace I think was good is that it happened right before like halftime, so he had an opportunity to actually have a really good, nice long break. But that ref call, without a doubt, and I know we'll talk about it later, total bullshit. Don't know if it would have made the difference in the Eagles winning or not, but I do know this, that 110% for sure that the refs made this game no longer a memorable and could have been probably one of the best Super Bowls ever, and it will no longer be thought of this way because of what the refs did. Look, you had even the guy who grabbed his jersey, he even said, yeah, I grabbed his jersey. There's no doubt that was a call that was made. But when you put into consideration that it was the very first time throughout the entire game that a holding was called, that's ridiculous. We're that close to the end of the game. They totally are the ones who made the game theirs instead of the players, and it sucked. And that's, it did suck. Like I said, I don't know if it would have changed the outcome, but it sure would have been a lot more fun watching that game if that didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I still think the Chiefs would have won that game, even if that call wasn't made.
Yeah.
But it would have made for an insane ending. We already talked about what the shootout it was, right? Back and forth the entire time. There's virtually no defense going on. But you're watching two of the most high-powered offenses in the league go at it, toe-to-toe. And, like you said, though, I couldn't agree more. By textbook definition, that is a foul. Yeah. However, like you said, right, it's the first one they called all game. I went back and watched the game. That same exact little tug happened multiple times, and there was 4 or 5 other holding penalties that were more egregious that weren't called throughout the game, going both ways. I'm not saying they were only on the Chiefs. Going both ways, there was penalties not called. The other issue I have with that play in total, too, there was illegal use of hands to the face by Josh Sweat, and there's a picture of the line judge looking directly at the call, going for his flag and then not pulling it for the illegal hands to the face. So, listen, again, the Chiefs played a great game, right? I think overall they were the better team, especially in the second half. They deserved to win that. But I agree with the statement, though, that the ending of the game would have been very, very different. And I really wanted to see the Eagles get the ball actually down a little bit. Because we were talking about it last week, right? Whoever has the ball last is probably going to win that game, or a clutch up from the defense. And the thing there is, for me, one of the biggest knocks on Jalen Hurts is the fact that he's not clutch in clutch situations. And I don't know if that's a fair argument, because has he really ever been in a clutch situation?
Well, hold on. Didn't he clutch up on the very drive before that?
Oh, yeah.
They marched down the field in like 0 time.
Yeah.
Put up 7 as a direct, like, they've been getting thumped around the second half. They marched right down, put up 7, like, here you go.
Yeah.
They gave it up right back again. Right. I think not seeing the last minute and 30 seconds with Hurts with the ball, to Chiro's point, is the soul crushing part. Not that we lost the game, but it's like you don't know what could have, would have, should have happened. Right. And I think all those non-calls, fine. I don't care about the non-calls all game long, but like, I think players, players get it pretty quick. First quarter, they know what's a penalty. They know what they can get away with, because the refs have kind of set the tone for, like, that's a hold, that's not. We're going to let this go. You know. And there's defensive holding on probably every play. There's a tug, there's a push, there's a hand on a hip.
Sure. There's holding on every play.
Every single play, right? And the ref who goes for the hands in the face call and doesn't call it is saying, I'm not going to be the reason why this game ends. The other ref says, I'm going to be the reason why this game ends.
Yep.
Right. That's a decision. And again, it's this fast, right? So I got to step in. I got to say something to Chiro. So I owe you an apology. And I apologize to you over text. I'm going to apologize to you in public too, because my phone also blew up, Chris. And my response to everybody was not John-like. Well, it was John-like. Pretty pissed off and angry.
It was Philly John coming out.
It was Philly John all day long, and I might have been a little drunk. It's possible.
Weren't we all?
Chiro, I owe you an apology. Congratulations. I'm like I said, I'm really happy that you're happy. You know what I mean?
It was funny, John. I even looked at my wife and I said, "Oh shit, John is pissed."
Pissed. Well, and the thing too, I wrote you that note, right? And then like 10 minutes later is when my wife told me that her eyes were fucked up, right? So it's like that fast that happened. Like, oh man, like my life just changed in like that small span of time. But I owe you that, man. I'm sorry. I didn't. That's
no worries.
That was a little bit of brown water and a lot of bad call.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest with you, right? I was actually pleasantly surprised with the refereeing up until that point because of the fact that they were letting the guys play.
Well, except for what's a catch.
All right,
was a couple.
I'm not even going to talk about
calls. Like,
what's a catch.
What the hell were they doing on those calls? Like, there's three of them.
Yeah, that, and then my other big problem with the refs. And again, I'm saying they were good for the most part of the game. My other big problem is the Devontae Smith catch that they ran up to the line, snapped the ball. They call a flag for an illegal substitution on the defense. You can't challenge a play on a defensive penalty.
Yeah.
So I had a problem with that they let them challenge the play after that, because technically that next play went and they shouldn't be able to challenge. But overall, I was happy with the refs letting the guys play because, like I said, right, there was a lot of hands during the game. There were some questionable holding calls that should have probably been called. They would have been called throughout the season, no doubt. Blocks in the back that weren't called, but it was going both ways, and I was fine with it. Yeah. Right? It wasn't like the Eagles were committing penalties and they just weren't calling them for the Chiefs. Both teams were committing very similar penalties and they weren't calling them. So I was actually fine with that. If you're gonna call it, call it. If you're not gonna call it, don't call it either way. Exactly.
Just be consistent.
So I was happy with it up until that point with obviously the game changing call. Yeah. Because that's when their definition of what is holding changed. Right. And again, no discredit to the Chiefs. Juju sold it well. I will knock Juju for his assholeism. I'm making my own word. Yeah, it's fine, whatever. With his posts on social media afterwards, he's a clown. All right. Juju is he's a fucking clown. All right. I'm going to say it. I don't care. All right. Listen, that was his post on social media aside. He lit it up in the second half. Right, he played really well in the second half. The whole Chiefs team played really well in the second half.
No, you can't say I'm going to challenge you there. And I know I'm going to be the outlier here and this could be a homer call. What kind of yards did the Chiefs put up the second half? 150 yards, whatever the hell it was. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't like they lit the world on fire, right?
I'm just saying.
They played a better second half.
Yeah.
And honestly, and this is what I said to you last week. What did I say was going to be the number one difference in this game? What was going to win the game for the Chiefs? Do you remember?
I don't remember. Was it running the ball?
The best coach.
Best coach. Yeah, that's right.
Well, right. Andy Reid. Yeah. Andy Reid dialed up some shit in that second half. Those two touchdowns, my wife could have thrown.
Oh, okay? I blame.
Especially the one on the wing.
They're both, and I mean,
they were the same play.
No discredit. Yeah, no discredit to Mahomes, right? But like I said, my wife with her one eye could have made both those throws, right? That's not Mahomes being MVP. That's not the Eagles defense sucking. That's Andy Reid being a fucking boss and saying, "I am being a moron." 100%.
Because
100%. That was coaching. And I mean, Andy Reid, if he's not the best coach of all time, Bill Belichick, whatever, Andy Reid to me is the best coach of all time. And I've watched him coach for years and years, and I know you have too, Chris.
Yep.
And I knew it. In the second half, I was like, here's the thing I thought. When Hurts makes that fumble, and instead of it being 28-7, it's 21-14, I'm like,
you texted me that too.
Andy Reid's going to dial this up, and he's going to screw us in the end. And I knew it was going to happen because don't give that guy 26 minutes of of the five head singing all that time to figure it out. And that's exactly what he dialed it up. And the Chiefs, 138 yards in the second half, whatever it was they put up was not a lot of yards, but boy, they were meaningful yards.
Yeah, and
I mean that's what happened, right?
The kickoff,
he's a boss.
That punt return also helps with the
there it is.
Well,
less
Tony's punt return.
Well, there was two blocks in the back.
That was the worst
in the back on that.
But it was also the worst punt of all time. You got to watch the breakdown of that punt. That punt was bullshit.
I'm
terrible.
actually not mad about that
punt
though, because they got down the field, they scored quick and gave us the ball back.
Yeah.
Going off John's point though, with Andy Reid, all right. Yes, he dialed up some great plays. Two things about those touchdowns though, right? The first one, great play call. The second one, horrific defensive play calling by Gannon.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck in Arizona, boss. You're going to get absolutely murdered there. Listen, they ran the same play, just to different sides of the field.
Yeah.
Now, my biggest problem with the entire game, and it affected that play, the field conditions.
Oh, I told you that too.
I told
murderous.
It was like an ice rink out there. And if you watched the defenders and like the corners for the Eagles, they knew they couldn't keep up with the Chiefs players. So they had to jump the routes a little bit. And they got burned because they couldn't cut back to get out there and make that play. So Andy Reid dialed up some good plays. I'm not taking that away from him. And you're correct. You can't give him time and weapons like that to just go down and eat you.
No, that's a double halftime. It's 26 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. That's too much time for a tactician. But that field, I told you last week too. I said you were talking about it might come down to a field goal. And I'm like, if it comes down to a field goal, don't count on it because that field is garbage. Ian and I watched a lot of games there.
Well, they brought in a brand new field just for that game.
Well, they didn't let the sides.
I've never seen anything like it before in my life. I thought that was the worst field condition I've ever witnessed. No. And that was on both sides. No matter who was on the field, they were affected by that ice skating rink that they were playing on.
For the Chiefs to miss a field
goal so many times
in the league, misses a field goal.
Yeah,
there's no way he missed that field goal anywhere else on the planet but on that field that day. And I've seen
his
feet play out before too many times.
The one and only person that probably loves the fact that bogus call at the end of the game happened was the kicker who boinked the damn goalpost.
No question.
Because did you hear the sound of that ball hitting those goals?
Solid. It just hit. Like it hit square perfectly.
I didn't hear it because I was screaming so loud.
No, I mean that was like a perfect hit. Like that ball hit so square.
Doink.
And I don't know if you saw Bucker's plant foot on that kick. It slipped.
Yeah, it did.
Right? Yeah. And then what's it called? Jake Elliott on the kickoffs. I mean, I thought he broke his ankle on that one kick.
That one, they showed it in slow motion. It looked terrible.
That looked terrible. And and with the field, right? I understand that they're playing on the same field, so you can't say one team has an advantage over that. I'm just making a general statement here with that the field was terrible, and I actually feel bad for the guy who is in charge of the field management, right? Because this was his last game. He's retiring. The guy's 94. All right, he's been doing this for years, and they've been literally working on this. It's a hybrid blend of grass.
Hybrid blend.
And they've been working on this sod for 2 years. 2 years. To go out on that note.
Yeah.
Wow. That's brutal. That's brutal. And we'll say what's up to SJ real quick. SJ's in the house. I guess some of the other stuff is ending soon. But yeah, the field to me was really bad. I hate to blame like a field and stuff like that, but that's a safety hazard for players.
It's that was the part of it that you could have had many rolled ankles.
Yeah,
it does affect the game, but it affects both teams, right? But it cost the Chiefs 3 points for sure. It probably cost the Birds 40 yards in, like you say, guys not being able to cut back. It cost the running backs not being able to plant and go. There's a lot of things that go wrong on that, and that's again not to blame anything, just a thing to point out that it was brutal. And if it would have came down to what would have happened if that game would have came down to a Philly 3-point win or a Philly 1-point win, it was the doinked field goal on a shitty field. That was what we're talking about today.
Yep,
we'd feel just as awful. It's like that's not the way to win that game.
Oh, and that's what I told Chiro, I think, and I told a couple other people when they were all blowing me up after the game, and I said, if I was on the other foot, if that call happened to Philly, I wouldn't like it just as much. Now, obviously, would we have won? Yeah. Would I have been happy? Yeah. But I wouldn't have liked the call as a fan of the sport altogether, right? And with the Fields, there was a play in the second half. The entire offensive line slipped. Patty Mahomes looked like he was Bambi on ice skating around out there. They had 5 guys literally sliding on the field at the same time. And it was funny to watch, and I'm glad nobody got hurt on it because, listen, I played soccer for 14 years when I was younger. I played on some slippery fields. When you know that field is slippery, that is in your head the entire time. You're sitting there like, you can't cut. You can't make a quick move because you might blow an ACL real quick. You might tear an Achilles if your cleat gets caught in it. I mean, it was terrible.
I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but there's 4 or 5 different times they were showing pictures of cleats over on the sidelines that were 5, 6, 7 pairs deep. When you got guys and those were all different pair of shoes. You look at Hurts. When Hurts came out, he came out wearing Jordans, and then he switched Jordan shoes after the first series. I mean, it was that quick where people knew that, hey, this was going to be something that was incredible. You saw Pacheco when he tried to cut back one time and his knee buckled underneath him.
I thought he
tried
was
to cut back to the right.
Yeah.
I did too.
I thought he tore his ACL legitimately.
Ian, there was a game. I think actually it was the Hawks. The Hawks played over in London or Germany. That field was shit too. London. That was a terrible field over there. They were all complaining about that. But there was a big thing across the league where they were like all the players and coaches like we should ban the turf because of the non-contact injuries and go to grass. There was this big thing about that. How does that look now? Now that grass was a small factor, but a factor in a game, does that conversation change? And do we go to turf so it's a common surface that, you take the elements out of it with the dome, you take the grass out of it with turf, and you know what I mean? Does that change that conversation now?
You also have to go back to the Commanders field. You remember when Robert Griffin III, when the Hawks played him in the playoff game, that field was terrible. It could have been the worst. I mean, they tried to paint it. I mean, it was all just, dirt on top, and they were trying to paint it.
Dandelions and everything else. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I don't know if this is going to lead to something.
Basically that was it.
He was done. But I'm serious. I think they're going to go back and review this in the rules committee, John. I really agree with you on that. I think they've got to go back and take a look at this and find out where the happy medium. There is a lot of guys that are blown out Achilles and non-contact ACLs and stuff like that. But a lot of that is because, is it because these guys don't stretch enough or, who knows? But that field was one of the worst. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw that, but right after the halftime show, they must have had 50 people on the field trying to patch it back up.
Yeah. Well, did you see them after the halftime show too? They were trying to fluff the field back up because it was packed down.
All that tacked down from the stuff.
From the events, obviously, that Rihanna had. We can discuss halftime shows later if you guys want, because I have a whole tangent.
Why? That was.
But but I mean the field conditions. I mean that's brutal. And like when you're talking about it, right? You got grass versus turf, right? You can say, well, the slippery grass is bad. Turf is worse. And I'll tell you why, because your cleats get stuck in the turf.
Yeah.
And you can get much worse injuries.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And as someone, I've played on both of those fields before. I'd much rather play on slippery grass than play on turf. But my issue with the whole thing is, right, you have the grass on the field for a lot of these teams throughout the whole season. Okay. Why are you switching out the grass just for the Super Bowl game?
Yeah.
Right? Arizona has a grass field. Their field is 100% grass. Why are you switching it out? They have grass already. Why put this new blend of grass?
The reason behind that, what the whole reason behind that, Chris, I looked that up, and I got a cousin that's in Arizona, and that's basically what it was. Is they're trying to find this new hybrid grass that'll hold up better like turf, but give the breakaway of the grass, and they're just not getting it anywhere. And you're trying to pay these guys. Yeah. I mean, somebody got paid to figure out what that was. And obviously it was
an $800,000 field.
Yeah.
Well, didn't they try that same blend of grass in San Fran? So when they opened up the stadium in Santa Clara, that first year they changed out the grass 3 times in the first year, I think. because they kept having to repatch it and everything else. So they got some work to do there for sure, because that's
badly.
It could make games unwatchable, really. You know, and
Yeah.
that's unfortunate. It just,
I mean, imagine there was some rain involved. Luckily, the weather was great.
That's exactly what I said.
But imagine just a little bit of rain.
Yep.
I mean, that ice skating rink would have turned into literally downhill sledding.
Yeah, it would have been bad.
Yeah.
It's one thing if the conditions, the weather conditions, like if it's raining or if it's snowing and that's causing them to slip around. But that wasn't the case. It was actually the grass, the turf, the sod that was pulling up and making it slide. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. All right.
But that shouldn't take away from a good game, though. The game itself was awesome. I mean,
let's get back to game discussion. Let's
Yeah.
get back to game discussion here. Because, who cares about the grass at this point?
Well, it's an important thing.
It is. No, it is.
Yeah.
All right. Ian. Who are your top performers of the Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, it's got to be Kelsey. That guy's a beast, man. I think he just really showed why he's one of the best, if not the best. I mean, talk about him and Mahomes. How cool would it be to watch those two go out together and go into in the Hall of Fame together? But that guy just nobody could stop him, and he gets so open. How can a guy be 7 yards open, knowing that they're going to throw him the ball? Now, I'm not going to take away anything from Juju. Juju had 5 catches second half, 6 catches overall. Not bad.
That's why I said he had a good second half, because he had his entire performance. He had 1 catch for 6 yards in the first half, and then he had 6 for 47 in the second half.
Yep. And then you get on the other side of the ball. Who would have ever thought that you would see Jalen Hurts go for 300 yards? The over-under on that, I think, was 240 or something. Was it 260 or something?
I got it for
220.
I got it for 225. I had it for
225.
224 and a half, I think, is what I saw it at before the game time. And then his rushing stat was over 49.
Dude, talk about a great 4-and-1 call on 4 different plays where nobody could stop those guys. I mean,
they haven't stopped it all year. Jason
Kelce in the middle of that, just getting below everybody and cutting that down, and those guys just mowing him over. You couldn't stop that. That was pretty impressive. But you know who I thought got lost in all this? What happened to your running back, Chris? John?
Yeah.
Sanders, you didn't hear nothing from that guy.
Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah. I think Gainesville had more yards than he did.
Yeah.
And it was quiet.
I think Casey made a choice. They made a choice. We're not going to get beat by the run. We're going to see if Hurts can beat us. And Hurts whipped their fucking ass, except for one play.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened. That's the difference in the game. That play is the difference in the game to me. That and the fun. But
that was a game changer.
They shut them down. They're we're stopping the run. Just like the Eagles, I think, said we're going to stop Kelsey and we're going to let everybody else beat us. And everybody else kind of did. Pacheco made him look stupid most of the game.
Yeah.
That guy's a freaking stud, by the way. That dude, give me him.
Dude.
Give me him on any team. That guy can play for me whenever he wants to. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, the Chiefs, I'll be honest with you.
Seventh rounder.
He's from Rutgers. He's from
just
30 minutes from me.
Beast. That guy is a
tank.
Beast. He just runs like he hates you. I love it.
Yeah,
I love that.
He runs angry.
That's not a Chief. The last guy that wore number 10 for the Chiefs did not run like that. This guy runs way different than that.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, the Chiefs didn't really have a rush game until week 7 when, unfortunately, Clyde Edwards-Helaire went down. But, I mean, Pacheco gave him a burst out of the backfield all season long. I mean, he's been killing them all season long. So, Chiro, I'll say hi to a couple people real quick. Holy Roller, Brian is here.
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Hey, what's up,
we got Mike, 85 Bears. We got Badger. I know we got some people joining now because some other things are ending. But for all of you who are joining right now, just to recap, we discussed a little bit about just the game overall. We talked about the holding call. We all agree that it's a penalty. None of us really liked the fact that it was called, and there were some inconsistencies with what the actual call is based on what happened throughout the rest of the game. But neither here nor there. We all congratulated the Chiefs, all that kind of good stuff. Now we're going into our game-changing performers. So, Chiro, who do you think had good games?
for what I'm sorry, I missed the last part you said there.
Who was your top performers for the Super Bowl?
So, I'm going to be a little off on this one. My number one guy, I'm going to say, is Mahomes. I don't know anybody else that already had a bum ankle and then rolled it, was hopping off the field, and then came back and was doing what he was doing. And still being able to run and get us yards. I was very, very impressed with how he handled his injury afterwards. And then Andy Reid, guys, I got to give it to him. My God. I mean, that was incredible what he did with that team. It really was. It really was.
Mhm.
So yeah, those are going to be my two tops right there.
Okay. John, how about you?
Dude, well, Andy Reid for sure. Andy Reid is the game changer.
Yep.
Like I said, best coach on the planet. And I grew up when he was in Philly. Of course, he was in Philly for a long time too. So I know him well, and we went through in Philly the problems he had with his kids.
Mhm.
So that guy's dealt with some stuff.
Yeah.
And he's still the GOAT. He is the GOAT. No question, he's the GOAT. On the Eagles side, it's Hurts. I mean, Hurts was the best player in that field for
Bar none.
59 minutes and 11 seconds. He was the best player in the field. 59 minutes and 53
only thing
seconds.
that really
The only problem was that fumble.
poorly. Yeah,
Far and away MVP of the game. Far and away.
I agree. 100%.
And Pacheco. He's the reason why the Eagles defense did nothing. Their line did nothing was two. Right. One, obviously the short passing game that we talked about last week. Reid pulled that off to perfection. Mahomes played that hurt. He's a stud. He played hurt. He did not one special thing except for that one run, the 35-yard run that he had. Everything else he did was I thought pretty pedestrian, normal stuff, except for he played through pain. But the speed of Pacheco, the aggression of Pacheco, and the short game that Andy Reid dialed up made the defensive line for the Eagles a non-factor because they had A, no footing, but B, they had zero time to get to anybody. The play was past them before it started almost the whole game. That second half anyway, it was like Hutt gone. Like they game planned around them so good, and Pacheco just executed it like. And when it wasn't him, it was the dink and dunk, and man, this guy and Kelsey.
Yeah.
Those guys were open, and it was that quick hitter that was the difference maker. So yeah, to me, it's Pacheco, Reid, and Hurts are the obvious star performers.
No, I agree. For me, the best player on the field all game long was Jalen Hurts. That's not being a homer. The numbers will tell you that, exactly that. The only thing that you can argue is his passer rating. Patty Mahomes had a higher passer rating, but I don't think anyone's actually going to argue with me that Patty Mahomes had a better game than Jalen Hurts, because if you watch the game, you can't really make that argument. If you want to look at the stats, you can't really make that argument. But it's been said in chat a couple times here, and this is my player of the game is right here. The offensive line for Kansas City. Listen, I understand the whole dink and dunk thing, and it worked well. Mm-hmm. You have the best pass rush in all of football. You have the highest team with sacks. You have Reddick, who had 19 and a half sacks coming to that game. I told you one of my locks last week was Reddick to get a sack. Reddick didn't even pressure Patty Mahomes. Well, yeah, but the Gainwell prop hit in the first half or the first quarter.
Yeah, I had Gainwell Reddick in a parlay. And Reddick, of all the things, how is the mortal lock of Reddick going to be the one that posts the parlay for me? That's incredible.
I was shocked once I saw that offensive line just absolutely blocking them. It was ridiculous. And then the Eagles team total. And listen, I'm going to toot my own horn here. I said 37-34. I was pretty close. Listen, I had the wrong side, but I was pretty close on the totals. And I absolutely love that, right? We talked about it last week a little bit with I said I saw it on FanDuel. Both teams over 20 points was minus 119. Both teams to score 25 plus was plus 140. Both teams to score 30 plus was plus 240. DGen was all over all of them. I was hammering every single one of those because, listen, I already said that I like the over. I like the over on the game. My grandpa called me Sunday morning and goes, "What do we like?" He goes, "I'm betting the Eagles." I was like, "Of course you are." I was like, but the over. And he looks at me and goes, the over? He goes, this game has underwritten all over it. And I was like, that's what everybody wants you to believe.
Yeah,
no way.
No way.
Over.
No way.
But, yeah, the offensive line, though, did a great job. Mike was saying here, the grass was awful. Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. I'm not sure if you were here for it when we were talking about it, but the grass was an ice skating rink. It was terrible. Badger, nice comment from a Cowboys fan here. So great season for both teams. Hurts definitely had a turnaround year for sure. There was a lot of question marks coming into this year for him, so definitely did well. Another one. Let's not experiment with grass. I agree. Right? This is not a lab here, guys. This is professional sports in the Super Bowl.
Let's try this out. Yeah.
Yeah. And then SJ with a question here. Are the Eagles going to be a playoff team after the loss of both offensive and defensive coordinators? John, do you want to take this one? And then I'm going to pop off.
That's a tough call, man. The Hawks, the thing is, the spoils of having a great year are that you lose your coordinators, you lose some of your best players. They have some big-time free agents that are going to be gone this year too.
Yeah.
Honest to God, this is the thing that makes me and I got to be honest with you, I'm not just sucking up Chiro. The Chiefs and the Raiders are the two teams I've always loved the most in the AFC. And the Chiefs specifically, to be as good as they've been, and I guess you can say this about the New England as well, but to be that good over that length of time, when you know you're getting plucked every year, your best guys are gone.
Yeah.
Every year, it's incredible. The Birds have got to get Hurts signed. That's going to cost them a freaking fortune, as you can well imagine. With two coordinators out that I don't think were very good coordinators to begin with, I think they're going to be okay from that standpoint. I'm not worried about the coordinator. I'm worried about the players that they're going to lose.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%, John.
Yeah,
100% with that. Here's my thing with this, right? The reason why the Chiefs have been able to keep their coaching staff for so long, especially the offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, right? He's being interviewed now. He gets interviewed every year. He doesn't call the plays for the Chiefs. Andy Reid does, right? So, you're sitting here and you're not poaching the head coach, right?
Right.
So, what does the offensive coordinator do? Well, he coordinates the offense, but they want the guys who are actually calling the plays. Bieniemy doesn't call the plays. So, that's why he's been able to stay there for a while. Now, Shane Steichen, I'll miss him, all right? Offensive coordinator for the Eagles, he was really good. Gannon, I couldn't wait to see you go. You suck.
Yeah.
I hate you. You're a moron. And I hope the Cardinals, listen, right now, you can book it. I'm betting the under on Cardinals wins because that man is terrible. Kyler Murray is terrible.
Well, the Cardinals are happy to have
Murray
somebody come. The Cardinals are stoked that anybody interviewed for that job.
Literally.
Would you want to coach Kyler Murray? Are you kidding me?
No, not at all. But
he's not even going to play, guys.
I mean,
Yeah.
I would cut that guy's internet for one thing. No more Xbox for you.
100%.
And just shut your damn mouth, dude. I mean, seriously.
The Eagles, right? So John already said Hurts got to get paid. The one thing, though, they're going to have to find a defensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator position is pretty much already locked up by their quarterback's coach now, who has been by Jalen's side since high school. All right, so that's something that a lot of people don't know. If you don't follow the sport, you might not know it 100%. But the quarterback's coach has been Jalen's right-hand man literally all throughout college, throughout the NFL, and they're really, really good friends, good family friends. The coach used to coach with Jalen's dad back in the middle school days and high school days and stuff. But the Eagles, I'm not concerned about the coordinator losses. The player losses is what I'm more concerned about. The thing is, though, that a lot of the guys, right, Jason Kelce, is he going to retire? Is he not going to retire? We'll see. If he comes back, I firmly believe he'll take a hometown discount to come and try to win one more time, right? I think a lot of those guys are willing to do something like that. If not, you're signing them to one-year deals. And they're not going to be major deals. They're going to be one-year deals. They're going to be about the average for the position, if you ask me, because these guys are older. They're one slip away from a season-ending injury, right? So you can't argue for that big-time money that some of these younger guys are getting. Now, the experience is there, obviously, but I think the Eagles are going to be fine next year. Down the road, we'll do a whole prediction show on each division. I'll give you picks for all that kind of stuff. Before the season starts, right? I can give you my way too early picks now with not seeing how the draft goes, not seeing how signings go and things like that. But, right, Badger made a good point here. Coaches move around, players do also, keep the core together, 100%, right? So the Eagles core for next year and the Chiefs core for that matter too is going to be very, very similar, right? Your quarterback's going to stay. The Eagles are going to sign Hurts to a long-term deal. It's pretty much a done deal. You got A.J. Brown's there for a while still, right? Devonta Smith's still on his rookie deal. You got Goddard, who's still on his deal. The offensive line, you got a couple guys who may or may not be coming back. We'll see. Defensively, though, that's where you have some potential holes, right? C.J. Gardner-Johnson was a one-year deal. Reddick's on a couple-year deal, so we have Reddick again next year. There's a couple other guys, so we'll see how they work, but the core of the Eagles team will still be there. The core of Kansas City's team will still be there. Mike put a question up here a little while ago that he's driving to Vegas in the morning, so good luck in Vegas. Safe travels. Future NFL bet, you like Cincinnati. All right. Why do you like Cincinnati? Their core is staying the same. Okay. Yeah. Cincinnati's staying the same. Buffalo's staying the same. Kansas City's staying the same. The Eagles are going to be staying the same. One of those four teams.
Hold on a second. You're talking about cores all sticking together. Now the Dallas Cowboys are going to have the same.
Oh, it's going to be a mess.
Or they're going to have the same core.
You got
Dak. We know what they're going to do.
Yeah. Well, listen. I'm trying to be a good Philly boy today. All right. I'm not shitting on the Chiefs.
I'll take that jab at Cowboys. You know that.
Yeah. Listen, Badger is one of my good buddies. All right. So I don't want to be. I'll shit on him enough when the season comes. All right. But don't worry about that. You can expect me to talk a lot of crap on Dak and Zeke and everyone over there.
Oh, I know. I know.
Listen. You're going to make me do it. The Cowboys already fumbled the bag by not signing Sean Payton. All right. They already fumbled the bag there. They got McCarthy. As long as McCarthy's in charge over there, I'm not stressing at all. All right.
No kidding.
I know he's won a Super Bowl, but I mean, come on. That was with Aaron Rodgers, not Zachary Prescott. Get the hell out of here. But listen, so back to the personally, I think those are your four teams that are good bet. I think the 49ers potentially, the 49ers are a question mark for me though, because of their quarterback situation, right? Are they going to go back to Trey Lance? Are they going to stick with Brock Purdy? They're not going to go to Garoppolo. Garoppolo is shipped elsewhere. But are you going to
end up in New York?
Yeah. Are you going to stick with are you going to stick with Lance, or are you going to stick with Purdy, who literally carried you the rest of the season?
The 49ers don't have a good enough secondary to make it any further. I think their front eight is amazing, but in the league the way it's currently configured, they aren't built to play. And that's why the Eagles blew their doors off.
100%.
The Eagles blew their doors off because their secondary isn't built for that. Right.
Agreed.
And they got spread out way too much. So I don't see a lot coming out of San Francisco, out of the West. I mean, I don't get way ahead of ourselves, but
I mean, I think you're going to see a similar matchup next year, honestly. I think you're going to see very similar teams on both sides of the bracket in the playoffs again. Personally speaking, I think the Bengals are a good play. All right. I like the Bills a lot, but the Bills, I mean, it's 2 years in a row.
Bills are
Bills are only plus 700, you guys.
That's not what decade? No, it doesn't matter what decade you're in. The Bills are the freaking Bills. They cannot get out of their own damn way.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That city finds a way to lose, and I love them, but what the hell? They just can't.
You are so right.
Oh my God!
My futures pick. I'm looking at the futures right now. And I took the Seahawks at 60. Plus 6,000.
I mean, listen, I'll be taking the Eagles again.
No, I'm looking them up right now. I got them on in the sportsbook app.
The Birds are 66-1 right now, I think. Or the Hawks are. I would take that bet. I wouldn't sleep on them.
I did it for $50. But the one I would take a bet on, you're going to get a little bit of money on, is the Chargers. It's plus 2,200. That's a good bet. You talk about guys that are
Chargers aren't bad.
Core guys. They're going to get some good draft picks. You know,
ready? I'll give you my.
Ready.
How about the Raiders? How about the Raiders with Aaron Rodgers?
No, the Raiders aren't going to do jack shit because they're listen. The NFL script is not going to let the Raiders play at home in the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's right. Well, that's right.
They're not going to let it happen. Yeah. The NFL, like we can talk about how scripted things are. Listen, I'm going to take the Eagles as I do every single year. But sure. Mike just stole my thunder in chat right here. Jacksonville
2,800
Jaguars.
plus 28.
Yeah,
They are.
they are
I'm
going to
looking.
break through.
I'm looking
They
at
are
the
gonna
line
break
right now. Ian has it at 28. I have it at 2,500 right now. I like the Jacksonville Jaguars next year. Let me tell you why. All right, I'm going to tell you exactly why. If you watch any of these sports talk shows, okay, I advise you to watch us because I think we're more entertaining. But you do you. Trevor Lawrence is being ranked in the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. Trevor Lawrence is that dude. He's good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Listen, I watched him at Clemson. I was an Alabama fan, so I watched him at Clemson. I watched him do a lot of stuff. All right. They have Christian Kirk, who's a stud. They got Zay Jones, who's been playing out of his head. They have Evan Ingram. All right. Their running backs are good. They got Etienne. All right. Their defense has been playing really, really well. But you know who they have coming back next year? Yeah, Calvin Ridley.
Oh, he just applied for reinstatement.
Exactly. And if he comes back, I mean, you're talking Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley and Evan Ingram as weapons for Lawrence to throw to.
You like that? I'm not a big fan of that. I watched him play when he had Julio Jones, and Ridley was just kind of he was real streaky. Maybe it was because he was gambling, right? Let's be honest. He got busted for gambling. That's what he was doing. Hopefully, he's got his head in the game.
Go back to the pre-gambling though, right? When he's coming out of college,
yeah.
I mean, he was one of the most feared receivers in the league. He was a first-round draft pick in fantasy football. After his first year, he was a first-round draft pick, second round if you were playing with a bunch of morons in your league, right? I mean,
if he's that guy, you're 100% correct. If he's that guy,
I'm going to pull up his career numbers right now.
Yeah, is he that guy, or is he going to be another guy? Right?
Yeah.
Is he going to be that guy I sat out a year? I mean, John, who's the guy that we brought back 2 or 3 times that used to play for Cleveland? What's the guy's name? Have been busted for drinking.
Number 10, the marijuana guy.
Yeah,
he's playing for the Dragons now.
He's playing for the Seattle Dragons.
He's playing for the Dragons this year.
Josh Gordon.
Yeah. Josh Gordon. That's
Flash
it.
Gordon.
Is he going to be like Josh Gordon? Right.
God.
100% of talent, but just can't put it together back.
Josh Gordon played 3 games for the Seahawks, and I was out of my chair the whole time. That dude is freaking amazing. But what a 10-cent head on a $1 million body.
Here's my reasoning too for Jacksonville. All right, because it kind of goes against what Badger just said. So Badger just said he's going to hit his sophomore slump. He's got Dougie P as the coach. Listen, we're talking good coaches. Doug Peterson's a very, very good coach, and he's very good with quarterbacks. All right, look at it. Carson Wentz sucks. Carson Wentz did well under Peterson. Nick Foles, a backup quarterback, won a Super Bowl under Doug Peterson. So that's just my opinion. But
Peterson's
here you go.
Yeah.
Right, listen to this. Here's Calvin Ridley's stats for his NFL career. All right, his rookie year, he had 64 receptions, 821 yards, 10 touchdowns. Sophomore year, he had 63 catches, 866 yards, 7 touchdowns. 2020, he had 90 receptions, 1,374 yards, 9 touchdowns. And then obviously in 2021 is when he got suspended. But, I mean, we're talking up a guy who's putting up 63, 64, 90, over 800 yards and over 7 touchdowns a year.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah. But again, does he come back? Does he still have the fire? You sit out for 12 months.
Yeah.
You can't be around the fellas and you're watching it on TV. That's tough to do. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. What do you guys think of either the Lions at 3,000 or I'm just saying, I don't think they win the Super Bowl.
Their defense is terrible.
Or the Dolphins at plus 3,500.
The Dolphins are an interesting play. The problem with the Dolphins is their quarterback situation. Tua might not ever play football again.
He's still in the protocol, isn't he?
He
cleared
off
last week.
He cleared it, but I mean, he was in it for like 3 weeks. You know how bad you have to be concussed to be in concussion protocol for 3 weeks? I've had 4 of them. Believe me, 3 weeks is a long time.
Yeah. No, I don't trust Miami at all.
No, I don't either.
Not even a little bit. No.
Jim, why was I assume you're relating to Calvin Ridley? He got caught sports betting, and throwing games for being a sports bettor. That's why, and betting on outcomes and stuff. Yeah, but listen, my problem with the Dolphins, okay, here's the thing, right? The quarterback situation is a big question mark. Their coaching situation is an even bigger question mark for me. All right, their head coach, who is it, Brian Flores? He's not that good, if you ask me. He's okay, but they're not going to have a quarterback. Yeah.
You talking about in Miami? No, they got that young kid with glasses.
Oh yeah. Whatever his
Flores
name is.
Yeah,
Flores is gone. He was their coach last year.
He's a funny guy, though, man. If you watched him on TV and they had him mic'd up for some of that stuff, I mean, he was like giving crap.
Don't get me wrong. He's a funny guy, but it comes down to the quarterback situation and their defense. Their defense is not good, but their quarterback, it's a question mark at best. And even if you have Tua, I mean, people say Tua's really good.
Brittle.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they're coming out of the East, though. They're not going to come out of the East.
That's the other thing.
Buffalo's got the East, and nobody from that division is going to make the wild card.
Here's another one you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Washington. All right, Mike. First of all, you're on the call with 2 Eagles fans here for one, and then you got 4 football minds here. Listen, you want to know what my retirement plan is? You guys all want to know my retirement plan?
Well, you know mine, so it's yours.
I'm gonna tell you what it is right now, and I did it last year very, very successfully. When Carson Wentz is the quarterback, over half an interception. Book it, take it to the bank. You can retire. I'm telling you, guys, it's a lot. All right. Listen, me and my
Is he going to be the guy next year there? Is he going to be the guy next year for real?
If he is, Heineke, whoever. Listen, Heineke had a good year.
They're going with the new kid. Rivera's already come out and said the kid that started the last 2 games is the #1 quarterback going into.
Oh, Ellinger? No, not Ellinger. I know who you're talking about. Listen, he's not good. And the other problem,
Heineke sleep with somebody's daughter? That dude's good. Like, what? Why isn't he got a job?
Heineke definitely did something. Let me tell you,
I like that
guy
kid.
did something.
What happened? What did he do? I mean,
we should look.
He's part of that whole Dan Snyder situation.
I mean, yeah.
Did he get Dan Snyder's wife or something? Like, what happened, man? That guy can play.
Well, think about it. It's like Malcolm Butler in the for the Patriots.
Yeah. Well,
what the hell did Malcolm Butler do?
You know what I'm doing right now? If my name is Pete Carroll, I'm not telling anybody this, but I'm gonna put Geno Smith on the free agent market and take me some Taylor Heineke, because that kid can play, and he's gonna play for a lot less than Geno Smith's gonna play. That kid's good. And
they're saying $35 million for Geno Smith.
That's too much.
Now. As a Seahawks fan, I'm like,
that's too much
for a glorified backup.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, I got to bring something up here.
Go ahead.
Sorry to derail the show here.
You're fine.
But I seem to remember that one little friend of the 4 of us, and her name will be taken out, but I seem to remember she was supposed to come on our show, our last show, and do a little sing and dance. Jen, I know you're out gallivanting around the country, but Jen, we're ready for a song and a dance, and we didn't get it.
Yeah, listen. I'm ready for a song and a dance. Out of respect for Jen, I will not put it on the internet. All right. Out of respect for Jen, I will not put it.
No way.
Maybe.
You can't do that.
I might put it on the internet.
Here it is. Here. Wait. No, here it is. Here it is. Put it out on the internet and make people donate money to Craps for the Cure to watch it.
There you go.
There you go. That's a good idea right there.
I'll put $100 on that. I'll put $100 on that.
For anybody who doesn't know the deal, all right, Jen and I made a bet for the Eagles 49ers game. I gave her the points. I gave her whatever she wanted. The bet was if the 49ers won, I'd have to dress in a mini skirt. Girlfriend DJ would have to do my makeup, and I'd have to sing like Girls Just Want to Have Fun and Raining Men or something. I don't know what it was. And then if I won, which obviously I did, Jen has to wear a XXL Eagles jersey. I'll leave the rest to your imagination, and sing the Eagles fight song. So, Jen, you owe me a video. All right. You owe me a video, and I might just have to put it up for charity. I might just have to do it. She wants to know, does she have to do the flying dance? Listen, Jen, whatever will make you happy. I don't really care, but I need the video.
I wouldn't. They lost.
She's got to get some choreographer to come in.
Yeah.
Some Eagles dance team.
I know somebody on the Eagles dance team. I mean, I can get you to choreograph something. But So, all right, this kind of shifted to just total football talk, which I love.
Hey, D-Gen, one thing, I'm sorry, because this show started a little later than normal. I'm going to have to leave pretty soon. I do have a question, because I was not familiar with Hurst and not watching many of the Eagles games, right? You guys obviously watched many, many more. I noticed one thing about his play, and I'm wondering if this is something that you think he's successful at or what. Every time he went to throw the ball, and I don't care if he was throwing deep or short, he came out of the pocket so deep. I mean, 15 yards, 20 yards back out of the, the line, giving and when he got sacked, I mean, he was way past the line of scrimmage. Is that something he's known to do all the time?
Yeah, so the reason he does it is because he is a mobile quarterback who can run. So he looks to get out of the pocket, and most of the guys who are looking to get out of the pocket, if you watch them, so obviously you have your offensive line blocking for the quarterback who's back here, right? So when that rush is coming, the offensive line's getting pushed back a little bit, your edges are collapsing in, the quarterback has to escape out aside usually, unless they can step up and through, but that's usually a way to get hit or to get sacked, right, if you're stepping through. So that's why he runs out more often than not. If you watch a lot of mobile quarterbacks, that's what they do. Mahomes is a little different, but he still does look to run outside. The other reason is when you run outside, you give your receivers time to get open.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of them run out. But Jalen's done that for most of his career. He's
I just noticed him go back, like he would run back really, really far. And
a lot of the shorter guys do that too.
Well, that's the other
Wilson
thing,
used
to throw over the line, right?
Right.
And be able to see the field better.
Yeah.
The first thing that I thought of, and listen, I wouldn't down him for thinking this if that was his plan. Our defense is not the best defense. So, being able to run out and give yourself time because you're not worried about the stupid ass defense that's coming at you. I could see that happening. Actually not even the second half, I think more of the fourth quarter. That's where the Chiefs defense miraculously came into play. Amazingly enough, because that's what my main concern was their defense. But yeah, I just noticed him do that. And, even Mahomes, I mean, when he does run out, when he's taking a pass, first things, of course, he's looking for is if he's going to have to get anybody open. But I don't see him run so far back. I see him run out of the pocket, and then he's either running left or right, getting himself open. But Hurts, I saw him run back really far almost every time he was going to throw.
No, that's true. So Mahomes is one of them. There's two different classes, I want to say, of rushing quarterbacks, right? Quarterbacks who are mobile enough to run off the ball. There's I look to get out of the pocket left or right quick, or they look to drop back and still keep that passing option open. Because a lot of the time when you break out without going backwards, you're basically saying you're going to run because you don't have much room to actually step into a throw or anything. So you're going to be throwing off your back foot because that line of scrimmage is there. So that's one of the things why a lot of them run back. I mean, Michael Vick's a great example of it. Michael Vick, there's times he dropped 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage. God knows why, but that's just what he did. But it's also the thing with throwing off balance. Mahomes is a wizard at that, right? I mean, Mahomes could have one toe planted on the ground and make a pass.
Yeah.
There's not many guys who can do that. So that's also why the escaping out the back and going back farther allows you to step into a throw and get your feet set before you're actually getting chased. So, I mean, Justin Fields, there was some talk about Justin Fields earlier. He's another one who drops back kind of far. I mean, maybe not as far as Hurts. Hurts does drop back a little bit far, but I'm trying to think who it is. There's one quarterback who drops back a lot farther than Hurts too, but that's the reasoning. It's because he's looking to throw, and then also if he has to run, he's out there to run, but it's, a higher percentage throw to throw with a planted foot, step into it and throw, rather than, being Mahomes doing, throwing behind your back, under your legs, whatever he's doing out there on the field. Because he's gifted like that. He's got a crazy good arm. Hurts doesn't have the same arm Mahomes has, obviously, but
Hurts was impressive, guys. I mean, like I said, I hadn't watched a whole bunch of his games or anything, but I'm a fan. I mean, very, very impressive quarterback, especially for the big dance. and the situation of the field and everything.
Yeah.
I was very, very impressed with his play. And like I said, I hadn't watched much of him at all. So seeing him in that situation, it was really cool. Very good quarterback.
Yeah.
Guys, listen, I am going to have to take off. I appreciate it. Awesome show. And we will talk real soon. All right.
100%, Chiro. Congrats to your Chiefs.
Enjoy it.
Great
Enjoy
game.
the win.
Thanks.
And,
yeah, man.
reigning champs. Congrats. Good
July
luck.
comes early.
Yeah, it does.
That's right. That's right. Have a good one. We'll see you.
Yep.
Take care, Chiro.
Yeah.
You know, Chris, I'd like to hear something from you. You heard a lot about Hurst's arm, right? And how hurt it was. And I think that was really apparent on the last pass of the game. If you go back and look at that, I thought he got his arm hit. My brother was sitting next to me because nobody touched him.
Yeah.
I mean,
that
was and it was only went 30 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, an average high school kid can throw farther than that. So
I can throw
Well,
farther
the thing
than
is, though, he has thrown the ball farther in that game. He threw a couple of balls way farther than that.
he did.
And I can tell you, as somebody who's had multiple shoulder surgeries,
Yeah.
I can make a short, hard throw. But if I reach back to get one, it's going nowhere.
Yep.
And that's the thing. You can be short and still huck it 55 yards. But if you reach way back here, that torque, forget about it. I think he cost himself yards just because he tried to throw it too hard. I tell you what, that shit hurt. I know.
Oh, yeah.
You can see it.
He was in ice after that for sure. Because, John, I know you've had shoulder problems, right? I have a torn rotator cuff from volleyball. Like John said, right? I can throw a football on a rope like 30, 40 yards. When I wind back to make that motion, there's two things that happen. One, I'll drop the ball literally back here because I just can't do it. Or most of the time, it just floats in the air and it just keeps going, and it's like a punt. It just comes down because I can't get the zip on it because my shoulder doesn't torque back far enough. But if I'm coming here and just ripping one through, I'm fine.
Yeah, so, when I throw, you're right. It's all tricep. It's all this. There's zero shoulder involved in my throw now. I can still play catch, but yeah, it's that throw hurt him. I can tell you that throw hurt him.
And that's why I think that throw was way short. I personally hated the play call of having a Hail Mary there. I would have rather see some kind of ladder type thing, some hook and ladder BS. But
do that Dallas play. Let's put Gainwell at center.
Well, that's the thing.
That or destroyed.
Listen. The what's it called?
On Dallas.
The Chiefs defense was playing 40 yards back. Right?
I know.
I mean, that's how you play a Hail Mary, right?
Yeah.
So what I want to see there is your receivers run out, right? You run like you're running a Hail Mary, and you have like a Dallas Goedert come over the middle, go 20 yards, and come across the middle, catch the ball. And then you look for a Devonta Smith or a Quez Watkins, and you start handing the ball off and you start doing that kind of stuff. Get your running backs involved, things like that. Because, I mean, a 60, 70-yard Hail Mary is literally a Hail Mary. That's what it is, right? But with a hurt shoulder, I mean, he can't make that throw. I don't know if he can make that throw without the hurt shoulder, to be honest with you. I mean, a 70-yard throw that's far.
It's a wing and a prayer. It's asking a whole lot. I mean,
I'll take my chances running up against that defense, though.
But you know what?
Especially when they're spread.
In that moment, though, and I know it's hard to be a professional, but in that moment, after getting donked for that ridiculous call, and then 42 seconds later, having to make the last call of the game, as a coach, as a player, it's like, that's true. we just got jobbed. So what are we going to do? Just fuck it. Let's throw it as far as we can. And I think part of that creeps into your mind.
Yeah.
You know, you don't. Do you have a play in your playbook from your own 25 down by 3 with 2 seconds to go? There's no play in the playbook for that.
No.
Unless you're, like I said, Dallas, right? They have the only team in the league with a scripted play for that. But I'm going to let that dude. I'm going to ride that. I'm going to ride that pony all the way.
All the way
that was the
down
funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. That was the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. That was the Brokeback Mountain play of the year right there. That was just, I'm going to, just take one for all the league. Sorry, Jim.
Yeah, no, it's true. Jeff just showed up. What's up, Jeff? I think Jeff. A couple other people.
Jeff?
Greg popped in.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said hi to everybody, but so the shoulder, I think it's more, again, like we said, right? I think it's more of an injured shoulder thing more than anything. But ultimately, right, it was a good game. Hurts had a great season. I look for a lot of the same next year, to be honest with you. Look out for the Eagles draft picks this year. They have quite a few. So
the Hawks. The Hawks are going to be
the
loaded
Hawks
this
do
year
too. Listen, I'm going to have you guys on later on at another time. All right. And after the draft and after a lot of the free agency stuff moves around, and we'll do a whole thing like picking teams out of each division, mini like Super Bowl predictions going from there. But I think right now it's way too early to say anything because you don't know who's going where. You don't know who's getting drafted where. Don't worry. There will be many draft shows. We'll talk about the draft and things like that. But
you know what, Chris? I got to say something here because I saw a note in chat earlier. We're talking about what teams have a chance, what teams don't have a chance. And you think about how close the question was about parity in the league, right? The league wants parity. They're not going to, it's amazing just how close it all really is. And I know we say there's a script. We joke about the script and all that kind of stuff, but the Super Bowl came down to like 3 plays. Mm-hmm. When you break it down, there was actually 3, and they're complete breakdowns, but there's 3 plays. Otherwise, it's basically a tie game.
Yeah.
Right. Or damn close to it. I think that the game with the Eagles and the Niners, it was an ass kick in the end of the day, but could have been super close, just an injury away. Right. Look at the Bengals and the Chiefs game. It comes down to a momentary loss of reason by a player.
Yep.
Right. The whole league is like that.
100%.
And I think it's interesting. We talk about, no chance, but it isn't that far off. You're talking, and Buddy Ryan used to say this, right? You make me 3 plays and we'll win this ball game. That was his old mantra. Make me 3 plays to win the ball game. It happened in the Super Bowl, but that could happen any week. And I think that's why it's an any given Sunday kind of a league. It's pretty cool to think about that. And the parity of this league, with the exception of a few teams, is really there pretty strongly.
And I agree with you, John. And that gets back to the whole, that's why they're number 1. That's why they're the big dogs. Is that me?
I don't know. I heard a buzzing. Is that me?
Yeah, it must be you. I'm not hearing it. So, but I agree with you. That parity is just crazy. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. That's what it is. When you wake up on Sunday, even though there might be a 10-point spread, that other team might wake up and just do something to make it fun. And it's one day a week, right? Well, not one game a week, right? Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see next year to see what happens with some of the teams. There's going to be some fluxes. I think there's 11 open quarterback spots or people looking for quarterbacks. That's a lot. And there's not a lot of talent. I mean, you're going to get the big 3 that come out. I'm really hoping the Seahawks trade down, grab an extra first-round pick next year, and take the kid from Tennessee. I'd love to see him have him.
That kid's good. Yeah.
He's good. He should have won the Heisman. If he wouldn't have got it, he probably would have won the Heisman. Those guys were on fire.
Where does he go? Is he a second-round guy, you think, because of that?
He's a second round. I think he's a second-round guy. What I'm hearing right now from the books that I'm reading, I'm a draft freak. And so
Ian, don't you worry. We're going to exploit it.
We're going to get it on. Don't worry.
We might have to have a live draft party on the channel.
Oh, yeah.
Let me know in chat right now. Let me know in chat if you guys want to see a live draft party, and we'll chat a bunch of stuff during the draft. We'll do shows to break down the draft as we do shows for everything else. But, yeah, I see him in the second round as well.
Yeah. I would love to get him in one of our second-round picks. But, there's going to be a lot of moving and shaking. And the first one to start off with is, kudos to Carr for holding ground and saying, hey, release me. Let me go pick where I want to go. Mm-hmm. Now he's going to have 4 weeks to go and look at everybody before the rest of free agency starts. Yeah. He's getting a head start on everybody. Good for him. I mean, I'm a huge Derek Carr fan, by the way.
I don't think he gets enough love.
No, he does not.
I think he's a great quarterback. Very fundamentally sound.
He's a good teammate, though. He's a good teammate. If you go back and watch some of that stuff with him, he's a good teammate. So
100%.
But it's so funny because the parity and that they were talking about today on the local radio station here is that you got guys that are making, from like Tannehill, $28 million and above. Is that up? And then it drops from like 28 to 14 with Jameis Winston at $14 million. So there's a huge discrepancy there on what's going to happen. Now I think Rodgers is going to make a splash. If he ends up going to New York might be a viable option for some people.
Well, he's the highest paid quarterback in the league right now. So
yeah.
I just pulled up all their salaries.
Yeah. So when you look at that kind of stuff and be able to figure out who's going where, but this is going to be the year for quarterbacks. You're talking 3 out of the top 10 picks are probably going to be quarterbacks. You know, you look at all these free agent quarterbacks. Where are people going to go? You know, I mean, Geno might be an option now for Tampa Bay. If he wants 35 to 38 million bucks, what he's talking about, well, then you're going to have to go to Tampa Bay because we're not going to pay that here in Seattle, I don't think. You know,
I think
the good
Tampa
part
Bay
about
is
it.
an interesting spot for Carr.
Yeah, 100%.
I thought so too. I thought so too.
That's my number one spot. I think he's going to go. I think he's going to go to Tampa Bay because they have everything he wants.
Yeah.
Right? He wanted a good receiver. They brought in Devontae Adams. He didn't have a great year. Darren Waller got hurt, didn't have a great year. You got Godwin. You got Mike Evans.
Yeah.
You got Brait at your tight end. You know, they have a situation that he liked.
Yeah, but the problem there is they're hurt for salary cap purposes.
Yeah.
You know, they were talking about that earlier today, that they're really hurt for salary cap. They're not going to know if they're going to have enough room to get him on that. They might be looking something a little more around Baker Mayfield or you know, Donald or something like that to be able to get him through the first next couple of years. But now comes the game time where you know guys that are GMs are going to make their money because you got to get out and do some work now. You go between now and next 2 weeks it's the combine. After that, you're talking about free agency. Then you're talking about the draft. I mean, it is a good time, but it's going to be definitely something where we're going to be able to sit back and say, this was a fun year. I mean, I had a good time playing fantasy football this year. It's always a good time to be able to do that. It's nice to be able to, if you can get on FanDuel and DraftKings and stuff like that and play. I do that through my brother sometimes. And so
I got a really cool app for people who are looking to play that stuff too. There's a new one, Underdog Fantasy.
Is that the one where you pick a team and you go head to head against that team?
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, they're pushing. Yeah, NFL.
I just started dabbling with it, right? I played it for the Super Bowl. They have something that I really like, but I can't do it in Pennsylvania yet. Don't worry, I wrote an email to the support group there. I want it legal in PA because I would have raked.
Is it a DFS app or is it a fantasy league app?
So it's a fantasy app for DFS though, right? So you pick there's different competitions. So you can go against head to head against one person, you can go head to head against 3 people, you go head to head against 10 people for different monetary buying. There's $2 games, there's $5 games, there's $10 games, all this kind of stuff. But the one thing that I like is they have a picks thing, right? And they don't have money associated with each pick, so there's no line on the pick, but you get a multiplier for how many picks you put in there. So, like, you could take, let's say you want to take Hurts over rushing yards and you want to take Geno Smith over passing yards. The 2x multiplier it's 2x your money. Then they have a 3x multiplier and like a 4x multiplier and a 5x multiplier for all these different picks. It's actually pretty cool. You can't do it in Pennsylvania. I had concocted some really cool stuff, but you can actually bet on fantasy points scored.
Wow.
Yeah, so sorry, Ian, I muted your mic quickly because the static's coming through my headset real quick.
Yeah, it's coming from me. Yeah.
Yeah, I muted your mic, Ian. I muted your mic for 2 seconds because it's buzzing in my ear. But so what it is you can bet on over under yards, you can bet touchdowns, you can bet receptions, but you can bet fantasy points, which is really cool to me because, right, so I'm doing my fantasy show, right? And I like certain players each week. Well, I mean, I can create some banger lineups for these 5x and 6x multipliers with guys that I think are going to do well, but you can bet on fantasy points, right? So that's what I like about it. It's not like you don't have to pick between receiving yards and receptions. That's a problem that I struggle with a lot when I'm making some of these picks is like, let's say I like DK Metcalf, but I'm stuck with over 5.5 receptions or over 65.5 yards, right? Is it going to be one of these games where he has 10 catches for 60 yards or he's going to have 2 catches for 80 yards? Well, I don't have to worry about it now because I can take his fantasy points over.
You get the aggregate. Yeah, it's cool.
So it's pretty cool. So I'm going to work with them. May also get some affiliations with them. We'll work. Don't you worry. Go. But I want them to make it legal in PA because if it would be legal in PA, that'd be awesome. I'd love that. But sorry, Ian, I will unmute you now. because I know you have something to
Nah,
say.
I muted myself, so don't worry about it. I don't know what that is. So I took my
No, you're
headphones
good.
off.
You're good.
So, yeah. No,
But
yeah, sounds
it was
good.
a good year. It was a good
No, it was a
year,
good year.
and I mean, I thought it was really. It was the Super Bowl game overall, very good game, very good culmination to a great year. You saw a lot of good teams this year. You saw some bad teams as always, right? But I think you saw a lot of good plays, a lot of good coaching. I think the coaching was surprisingly better. I think players are more disciplined this year. Obviously, there were some plays that cost teams playoff hopes, but I think teams were overall better. Refereeing, I thought, was a little bit better this year than it has been in the past. I still think they need to find what the hell a catch is, because I have no idea what a catch is. I don't know if I ever will know what a catch is, and it's very frustrating as a fan. But overall, I think great season, great Super Bowl. Obviously, we already talked about the call. For anybody who doesn't know what we said about the call, you guys can go watch the beginning of the show. We did a whole discussion of that holding call. Quick, short, and sweet of the holding call. No doubt in my mind, is that a penalty? Yes. The problem with the call for me is that they set the precedent early on in the game, not calling plays like that. There was quite a few instances that were more egregious than that call itself. So I hate the inconsistencies. But if you called it all game, I would have had no problem with it. The fact that you didn't call it all game, that's what I have a problem with, not the actual call itself. Bradbury will tell you it's a penalty. I'll tell you it's a penalty. No issue with it. It's just they were letting them play, and they didn't let them play.
I'm a little different. I don't care about the call. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing.
I don't think it was a penalty. I disagree. I think that's a ticky-tack thing that happens in every single play. If it didn't actually impact the outcome of the play, that's where the penalty. To me, penalties ought to be impactful, and that one was not impactful. The problem with that call is that it eliminated the chance to see what could have been a good ending. Instead, it's an asterisk ending. That's what sucks about it. And frankly, you give up a whatever you call it, a fumble for a touchdown. It's not a pick six, but a fumble for a touchdown, and you have the worst punt in Super Bowl history made by the punter.
Yeah.
And you can't blame the coverage team for where that guy punted the ball. Those two plays, that's 14 points.
Yeah.
That's the game, right? So the call shouldn't have mattered. The Birds should have not had those two problems. That game should have been a 14 or 17-point game, and it wasn't. And that's why the call, I don't care. It's like, of course they're going to lose the call because they already blew the game. As a fan, that's my feeling. We already blew it. Of course, that's going to happen, right?
I agree.
I just don't want the asterisk for the Chiefs, because if it was the other way around, like you said, I'd feel like I have to apologize for that forever now.
Agreed.
Right? And like the Saints having to apologize for that PI a few years back. Right? That's just, the league should never be in that situation.
It's a muddy win.
It's terrible. I mean,
well, even with the fumble, right? That was a bad play. I don't know if you guys saw the fumble back. There's a face mask on that play.
There's a egregious face mask on that play. It's the still shot of that thing. You're like, seriously?
I mean, Hurts got turned on that play. Now, was the ball coming out as it happened? Yes.
Yeah.
But he got turned around. My other thing that we didn't even talk about with that holding call at the end, I don't think that ball was even remotely catchable.
100% agree with you.
No way.
That ball was 15 yards over his head and 3/4 of the way through the end zone.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. I didn't even mention that earlier because my whole thing with the call was I didn't want to make the show about the call because I think we can all agree.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things as a whole if you evaluate the game. And this is coming from two Eagles fans who just watched that cost our team the Super Bowl. But that ball, I don't even think Tyreek Hill would get to that ball. That ball was so far overthrown.
Tyreek Hill is a foot and a half tall. There's no way he couldn't have caught it anyway.
Well, I'm just saying with his
even
speed,
if he's fast enough to get there, he wouldn't have caught it.
Yeah, that holding call happened on the 10-yard line.
Yeah,
that ball was thrown 15, 20 yards past him.
Yeah, it was already in the air.
And it wasn't a big lob. That was kind of like it wasn't a line drive either. But I mean, it was kind of a soft floater. I mean, listen, even if he didn't get held, I don't even think he would have got to that ball if he ran uncontested to it.
Yep. But again, put yourself in a position to win, right? Put yourself in a spot where you win the game, not have to defend against the tie. Like That's the thing. As a team, you can't rely on that.
Yep.
Let's bring up the big thing in the room, though, the big elephant in the room. The Philadelphia Eagles are coming out to Seattle to play the Hawks this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, John, I invite old
I'm already
DJ
coming.
to talk with the girl, see if
There
they
you
can
go.
come out. We'll have a big shing-ding and have a good time
Well,
for sure.
What you guys don't know is that Ian he bought a house and a special thing and a special thing and a special thing just to tailgate. Like he pays rent on I think you have a car payment on a vehicle that's literally there for tailgate parties. Like you're like
That's
in.
sick.
It's only for tailgating. You're
Listen,
right.
Ridiculous. Yeah,
Ian,
Tailgate.
I need to
so
see.
good.
I need to see the schedule come out to see when that game is. So work some things
Yeah.
out because the schedule's not out obviously yet.
For sure. Yeah.
But I want to be there. I will be in full Eagles attire. Okay. Listen, if it's a problem at your tailgate, I will not wear Eagles attire. But I will not wear Seahawks attire either.
We want other fans. We just don't want 49er fans.
Oh,
Now, here's the
yeah.
thing. So here, I got to tell you, it's really hard having a split allegiance. I got to tell you, it's like what, because I've lived in Seattle longer than I lived in Philly, right? But Philadelphia,
John, who raised you?
Dude, no question. It's all green all the time, right? And I grew up as a Flyers season ticket holder. Like
There you
I'm
go.
all in. I'm a Broad Street bully. I watch. If you haven't seen this guy, look up Frank Bialowas. Me and Kathy used to go to Phantoms games at the old Spectrum and watch Frank Bialowas beat the ever-loving crap. I saw him beat a goalie's ass once.
I love
one of the best things, just because he got mad because the guy made a save and he punched him. Best thing I've ever seen. But it's hard because I've been in Seattle so long.
Yeah.
And
I get it.
I got
I just get to give you
blood.
shit.
No, it's going to be a great game. By the way, there's a Philly Seattle connection tonight, which you guys probably don't even know about. The Kraken tonight. The Kraken are playing the Flyers right now in Seattle.
Oh, and are they?
Kraken won 5-1.
Kraken won 5-1. But also, so here's the thing. So on the Flyers side, of course, I'm a big Flyers fan, but on the Flyers, their goalie played here in Everett. Yeah, like, I watched Carter Hart play all 5 years of his junior career. We watched him from when he was 15 years old. The kid's a stud. And I coached one of the kids. I told you, I coached a kid who's on the Phantoms.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got some local connections to that game too. But yeah, it's gonna be hard to like see I've always said like the Hawks and Birds are gonna play someday.
Yeah.
I just hope it's never in a meaningful game. Like I never want to see them play in the playoffs. That would be hard. That would be
It'll be early in the year, John. The way they
it's I looked up the schedule. So I put up because Jen's asking what the date is. The NFL schedule's not out yet. But let me see. I looked it up. I looked up what week it would be, like to kind of gauge a time frame of when it would be. Let me get that up. 20. I think it's like midway through the season. I want to say it's going to be like
October?
like an October, maybe early November type game. That's what I'm thinking for that. So yeah, but if the schedules align, with no major things, right? My schedule is going to be opened up for that exact thing. Like I want to come to Seattle to watch that game.
Time of year, if it's in October, late September, Seattle is amazing at that time of year. Like it's
late
like
September.
It is
heaven. Golf clubs, brother.
Dude, it's heaven out here at that time of year. It's so cool. Yeah.
And you know what? We didn't even mention this. I want to highlight this real quick because we didn't even mention it. So Jim asks, how about the running back McKinnon sliding down for Kansas City? Play the game for Kansas City. You know how hard it was for him not to go in and score. Thank you for bringing that up for one, because I thought about it and I didn't say anything about it. McKinnon is an absolute hometown hero for doing that. All right. He could be sitting in a retirement home 30 years from now, telling his grandkids about the fact that he scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl. The only problem is he might not have a ring on his finger if he did that. But he took the knee. Yeah, he took the knee and they ran out the clock. It's a big shout out to him. I think like during the regular season, right? You'll see people like take the knee. They might not take the knee and it costs teams games. In the regular season, it doesn't matter that much, right? You got to win. You got a 1 win, 1 loss in the column, whatever it is. and you rely on your defense. But in the Super Bowl, to have the acuity to actually take that slide, not score, and then, I mean, dude, I'm sure he wants to score.
pretty
I mean,
cool.
that's like every kid's dream, right? To score a touchdown in the Super Bowl.
I feel like there was a play, Chris, way back. The Giants running back did that in the Super Bowl. Same thing.
Rashad did it too, John. But he
did.
in the end zone.
But there was the fullback for the Giants. And the defense parted. It was one of those things where let him score, get the ball back, and the defense just went. They parted the Red Sea, and he just slid and gave himself up. And I'm like, I think I was probably about 20 when that happened. And I'm like, why did he do that? I didn't understand like the game yet.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I've seen that play happen a number of times. Like, man, that is just, it takes balls to do it. But you know, in that huddle, they're screaming, if you get the ball, you do not score. Like, you know, that's the
100%.
And
you know, they were coached all week not to do it. Right. You know, they're coached
instinct in your body. Yeah.
The only time I have a major issue with it is when I bet on someone to score a touchdown and, you know, he's got an easy run into the end zone and he doesn't score. Luckily, I didn't have McKinnon to score a touchdown this week, or else I probably would have been a little upset. But, that's
I had
super
Remember
heads up play.
Score, they pulled it off. I had Gaineswell.
Yeah.
Well, did you see
$512,
there
$20
was,
I would have won.
There was a bet. Gainwell to score the first touchdown of the game, Kelsey to score the second touchdown of the game. Somebody placed that bet. I saw it. I saw it show up on like my Twitter feed.
There was another bet too where they had AJ Brown and Kelsey both score. I mean, I bet on a 2-point conversion. I won that one. I won on
Octopus.
Yeah, I won on that both teams will score in every quarter.
Yeah. Listen to this bet. Listen to this bet. This was one that was cooked up in the dungeon when I was a little tipsy pregame, right? I mean, we had people over my house super early, so we were going. I placed this bet. Eagles over 13.5 first half. It's a parlay, by the way, 6-teamer. Eagles over 13.5 first half. AJ Brown 90+ receiving yards. I moved his line up. His over-under was like 70-something. I moved it up to 90. I was confident in him. Mahomes over 1.5 passing touchdowns. A.J. Brown to score a touchdown. Travis Kelce to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
Good so far. What blew it for you?
Eagles money line. Listen to this. I tried to cash out. I tried to cash out of this bet. I couldn't. They wouldn't let me. 50 to win $4,000.
Wow.
So listen, if anybody wants to understand how much pain I was in from the Eagles not winning that game, it's not because they lost. There's an 8K swing in balance.
Wow.
In my gambling account if they would have won that game. Now, I still won money because I hedged it, right? I didn't hedge it for a ton, but I hedged it because I had the Eagles at plus 4,100 to win the Super Bowl before the AJ Brown trade long time ago. But I was sitting there and I was in pain. I was in a lot of pain.
Damn.
I was sick. I was feeling it. Because listen, me and my buddies we were cooking up plays, and these clowns were cooking up some ridiculous stuff because we had rules on it. It had to be plus over a certain amount of odds, whatever it was. And I cooked that one up, and I was super proud of it. I was so proud of that bet. And then the Eagles cost me.
Wow.
And I tried to cash out. I couldn't cash out.
At least they're still your favorite team, my friend. That's good.
Yeah. Oh, they always will be. I'm not too worried.
Exactly.
Doesn't leave you. It don't leave you.
No. So.
All
right, guys.
Yeah, we've been going for an hour and a half. I think we had a nice show here. Appreciate you guys both coming on. Chiro, appreciate you coming on. I know you had to leave. But first of all, again, congrats, Chiro. Congrats to all the Chiefs fans out there. Your team played absolutely insane. Shut down one of the best defenses in the league. So congrats to you guys. Obviously, tough loss for the Eagles, but we'll bounce back. Ian, John, appreciate you guys coming on and always for your analysis and for the chat. Shout out to everybody who is in chat. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. And we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys soon. Don't worry, there'll
Yeah,
be
baby.
more. There'll be more football content coming, even though the football season is over. There'll be more football content. March Madness is right around the corner, and you already know DGen's already all over that. So we will have some stuff coming up. Don't you worry, and we'll see you guys all real soon.
Thank you.